everyone. I'd like to call the regular meeting of City Council for Monday, August 15th to order. Our first order of business this morning is our delegations, and it's a real pleasure, a real honor to be able to welcome these two young men back into City Council this morning. And I would like to ask if Caleb Waller and Hunter Kropp could come up, please. So Caleb and Hunter they've been here before, so this is old hat for you guys, right? And so, honestly, we are so proud of you guys in terms of your accomplishments. And it was a thrill following along the journey when you were at your provincial championships. And was it down in Abbotsford or down in Lower Main? Surrey. And seeing how you guys knocked it out of the park then, and then we're all excited to see you go to the Nationals in Ontario. And so then I was following along on Facebook, I think all of us were, about the posts of how you were doing it. And then to see you guys accomplish what you did was just a thrill for me as the mayor of Dawson Creek, and seeing you guys represent our community so well. And we're so proud of how you, first of all, represented our community, and the fact that you guys went to the end and were able to win. And so it's a real pleasure to be able to acknowledge that today for you guys. Thank you for representing our community so well. That's what we're proud of, right? We're proud that you do well and you do your best always. But how you represent and that your family and your community is, you should be very, very proud of yourselves because you did a great job.
We certainly tried to.
Yeah, great job. So anyway, I want to read this certificate of appreciation presented to Caleb Waller in recognition of representing the city of Dawson Creek at the Youth Bowling Canada's YBC National Championships. On behalf of City Council, thank you for representing our community to the province and nation, and congratulations on bringing home the gold medal at the YBC National Championships in Oshawa, Ontario on July 2022.
Right.
Good job. And I want to read the certificate of appreciation presented to Hunter Kropp in recognition of representing the city of Dawson Creek at the Youth Bowl Canada's YBC National Championships. And on behalf of City Council, thank you for representing our community to the province and the nation, and congratulations on bringing home the gold medal at the YBC National Championships in Oshawa, Ontario, July 2022. So congratulations, you guys. What an amazing summer for you guys. A memory for your lifetime, and you should be very proud of it.
Maybe a roll-off with the mayor.
Maybe a roll-off with the mayor. The new mayor. Yeah, this mayor isn't a very good bowler. So. Congratulations, guys. Do you want to say anything?
It's nice that we represented Dawson Creek and BC for that matter, and it's just a great experience.
Good for you guys. Thank you. Good job. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Great job. And we have one for Carrie as well, the coach. And so she wasn't able to be here today. She was a little delayed in holidays, so we will make sure that Carrie gets her certificate as well.
All right.
Thank you, guys. And mom and dads and families, great job, you guys. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to vary the agenda and move to our reports. And we have report number 8.2, report number 22089 from the Development Services Manager regarding the 9412 8th Street Remedial Action Plan report that administration have provided them. Because we have the owners of the property here this morning, I want to deal with it now so that we can have that dealt with and on there for them. So first off, can I have administration maybe give us an update or overview of the report, please?
Good morning, Your Worship. So the report in front of you speaks to the remedial action at the 9412 8th Street. There was a fire at the property that has, on July 22nd, that damaged the property, beyond repair. We were made aware of it and went and put the occupancy prohibited on it the following morning, just due to a risk and safety issues with it. So the report in front of you speaks to the remedial action, and typically with the remedial action you have a 30-day time frame. We were seeking a shorter time frame due to the potential risk of to life and safety. Because at the time when we visited the property, it appeared that there might be some people still residing there. So that's really what's in front of you. We gave the owners an opportunity to come to council, which they are here today. So we notified them last week, as they do have that opportunity to request of council to extend or reconsider that time frame.
Thank you, Kevin. And so at this point, because the owners are here this morning, I would like to ask council if I could have a motion to allow the delegation to present to council, because they are given that opportunity. So Councillor Kemp, second Councillor Wilbur. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So good morning. And if you would like, sorry, Brenda? Oh. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. So good morning. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, as I see on the hazard assessment was done mere hours after the fire was put out. Since then, there's been considerable work done to the place. All the hazards have been removed. Yes, we were staying on the property at the time. We had nowhere else to go. No means. Everything we had was lost in the fire. We had no insurance. So we did have a blanket there. We were basically staying in a tarp in the backyard, storing the blanket up in the carport when we weren't using it, so that it wouldn't go missing as our only piece of property that we had at the time. We have since found a place to stay. It's been boarded up. There's been considerable cleanup done to the property, and I would like to ask council today for extension on the 7 days, the mere 7 days that have been given to find a contractor to remove this property. It seems like barely enough time to get quotes. It seems to have it removed.
So do you have a time frame, what you're asking council to consider?
I have a considerable amount of money coming in from my mother's estate that's being sold next month. So I will have the means to have it removed. Right now, I do not have the means, the monetary means to have it removed, as I had no insurance. I was thinking perhaps, and
It did say a 30-day minimum, right? So
I was thinking perhaps renting some of that metal fencing, perhaps, and having it put around the property as a temporary means of, mitigating any risk that there might be, and hopefully within the 30-day period having it removed.
Okay, thank you. Council have any questions of the delegation? Well, thank you. We obviously that's the concern for our administration as well as for council would be the safety of people who might access the property. So thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate you guys being here, and we will, council will now provide that direction to administration as a result of their report, and council has that information. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can deal with 8.2 now that it's on the agenda. Thank you. So, council, now to a motion, please. Councillor Earl?
Oh, sorry, I don't have a motion. I was going to ask staff a question, but I guess we want a motion first.
Yeah, please. Councillor Dober?
I'd make a motion that we allow the original 30 days if there's fencing put up,
Thank you.
adequate fencing put up.
Protect the property, and they'll have 30 days if they protect the property?
Yeah, if that's what the bylaw is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Or however the bylaw's worded.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Earl? Kevin, you had a question or a comment?
So through your worship, I was just going to comment that since the writing of the report, the residents, as they've indicated, they have moved to a different place, and the house has been boarded up, which is good. And then the bylaw, I don't believe, would require the fencing, but if that's something that council will wish, and again, just an added level of security, that's certainly something that could be considered until they're able to remove the structure.
Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Dober?
Yeah, I was just, made the motion to have some discussion with staff about it, but if the fencing's not required in your report, you did mention that the carport has access, so would that need to be boarded in then, or would fencing be sufficient around that?
So I mean, they do have access to the carport. It's open, and the ceiling area is open. They're able, folks are able to get up into it. Certainly able to put up security fencing for what it's worth. There's ways around that as well. So that's that would be an added measure if council wants that. They can certainly ask for that, seeing they did offer it.
Thank you.
And then just one other thing.
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Just the 30 days, is that, would normally this been 30 days as of July 22nd?
So it'd be 30 days from the time that they were notified, and we hand-delivered notification to them last week. So it would just, the typical timeline is 30 days. We had expedited it, we're looking at 7 because of the original risk when we brought this forward.
So this would have been 30 days as of last week when you dropped it
Starting.
off, not as of July 22nd.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to look to Bill as he's looking at me.
It's 30 days from the date of the council resolution.
Sorry,
Okay, 30 days from today,
sorry.
Okay.
if approved.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Earl, did you have a? No. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Brenda, go ahead.
Excuse me, through your worship, I just wanted to confirm that there is a rather thorough resolution that was provided from our lawyer, and I didn't want to assume that that was the motion, just with the amended notice date.
Okay.
Just wanted to
So we should
confirm
have the entire, as recommended, as the motion with the addition that we're adding, security fencing be added for the 30-day period.
Yes, within the motion, number 5 speaks to the 7-day notice, so that would be amended to read 30 days. And then if you were wanting to include the security fencing, we could add that to the motion as well. So just
Thank
wanted
you,
to
and I think
confirm
we
on that.
should ensure that we do have it appropriately as recommended by legal. And so, Councillor Dober, if you're okay with that in terms of the recommendation, and we're changing the section 5 from 7 days to 30 days, and we're adding security fencing will be added to the motion for the 30-day period.
Would you like me to read this the way it is? Or?
We should have the motion for the public, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want, when I'm reading it, just change 5
Yeah.
to 30 days?
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, I move that report number 22-089 from the Development Service Manager, reason 9412 8th Street, remedial action be received. Further that, whereas the Council of the City of Dawson Creek has considered the condition of the single-family dwelling shown in photographs attached to Schedule A in Report 22-089, reason 9412 8th Street, remedial action dated August 15th, 2022, and legally described as PID 015-128-032, Lot 1, Block 2, Section 23 Township 78, Range 15, west of the 6th Meridian, Peace River District Plan 5562, hereinafter called the property, is in and creates an unsafe condition, a danger, and a health and life safety hazard to the public. Now therefore, pursuant to Section 72 and 73 of the Community Charter, the Council of City of Dawson Creek, in the regular meeting of council assembled, resolves as follows. 1, that having reviewed report number -22-089, reason 9412 8th Street, remedial action, the photographs attached to Schedule A to the report to council dated August 15th, 2022. The Tryon Structural Review 9412 8th Street dated July 28th, 2022 attached the report and all other information before council at this meeting. Council finds under section 73 2A of the community charter that the single family dwelling, including the carport on the property, is and creates an unsafe condition. 2, that council requires the registered owner of the property to remove the single family dwelling, including the carport in its entirety, the foundation, cap water, and sanitary services 300 millimeters from the property line, and backfill the excavation to 98% compaction. 3, that council also requires the registered owner of the property to cause the said lands to be left in a safe condition after the single-family dwelling is removed. 4, that the registered owner of the property may request reconsideration by council, which is 30 days from, is this right?
Which is,
okay,
7.
which is 7 days from person.
I'm having, sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's a sign. 7 days from personal services of remedial action requirements as provided under section 79B of the community charter. 5, that the registered owner of the property must fulfill the requirements in the resolution by the date that is 30 days after the notice of resolution as provided under section 79A of the community charter. 6, that if the registered owner of the property has not complied with the remedial action requirements within the time specification in section 5, the city of Dawson Creek, by its staff, agents, and contractors may enter onto the property and perform the work specified in this resolution. The cost of performing the work shall immediately become a debt owed by the owner of the property to the city of Dawson Creek. B, and such debt, if unpaid by December 31st, 2022 of the year in which it is invoiced, be added to the taxes for the property pursuant to section 258 of the community charter. And 7, that council directs city staff to provide notice of this remedial action requirement in accordance with section 77 and 79B of the community charter, including as required in the possibility that if the requirements are not fulfilled, the municipality may take action in accordance with section 17 of the community charter at the expense of the person subject to the requirement. And number 8, that the property be fenced.
thank you.
Your mic was off, guys.
Yeah.
Can I please?
Do that again.
I got it memorized now, so it'll be easy.
Thank you. And that's appropriate with the seconder, I'm assuming. Councillor Parslow?
Well, that must be in my 10.8 years on council, the longest motion that I've received. One of my concerns always is to people who are not familiar with this sort of stuff is for them to understand what is being said there. So I hope great effort is placed on not just sending that, but actually explaining what it all means, because I will guarantee that most people would not understand the ramifications of a resolution like that. So I'm hoping staff will spend a lot of time and become assured that the recipients of this motion understand what's been said there.
Thank you. Blair?
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Parslow, we will ensure, in a nutshell, although it's a long resolution put together by legal counsel, what it says is, look, you have 30 days. If you don't go in and have the remedial action done, which is remove the house from the property, the city will move forward, take the action needed, and if it is left unpaid by the end of the year, we'll go on your taxes. That's a very simplified part of that. Bill? and I think we've captured it.
And
So
maybe one clarity is, when does the fence have to go up?
the fence, I'm guessing with this resolution would be immediate. So as he indicated, he will search out the fence. So it may be a day or two, I'm gonna assume, versus at the end of today when we
Yeah.
tell him. He's gonna have to be given some time to source the fence, put it up, and then we'll work with him on that.
Yeah, I always would expect we'd be reasonable with that, and I know administration will ensure we have that conversation with them, so thank you.
Okay.
Any further conversation, any further comments? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any late items? New councillor business? For anyone? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I imagine you'll mention the Fall Fair, so I won't touch on that. But I did want to send out a big congratulations to the South Peace Historical Society and the Mile Zero Park Society, who last week, in conjunction with the 80th anniversary of the Alaska Highway, celebrated their 70th and 30th birthdays, respectively. And they had an event down at Pioneer Village, which I attended, barbecue and all that stuff, fun family event. So congratulations to those organizations, and a big thank you to all the volunteers that make that happen and help keep our local history alive.
Thank you, Councillor. Anything else for anyone? Councillor Parslow?
One of the things I'm excited about is the prospect of the indoor flooring that's going to go into the Ovintiv Centre and the Kiwanis, K-Pac? No, what is the other facility? Pardon? Kian Arena, I keep forgetting that. And I was just sharing with Shantae that just showing the multicultural nature of our community manifesting itself. A group of people here who play cricket approached me about the need and desire and wish for indoor winter capacity like other communities are providing. Being a former cricketer myself, I was pleased to hear that and offered to coach them because I wasn't opening bat for the county. So at any rate, they declined my offer in that regard. But I'm just excited about that
cool.
because, you know, it's good to see the primarily the Indian community here playing cricket at Frank Ross or on the college grounds. So I'm hoping that we can accommodate them somehow. Concerning the points that Councillor Jeremy talked about, I made a short speech on behalf of this city. And I told the Historical Society that anytime they had any requests for funding, to go and talk to the ex-mayor who would provide that funding to them out of his own pocket. No, I didn't say that.
I'm running for mayor again.
Anyway, it was really, really good just to see the place. I mean, you know, we had the music thing going on. We had a wedding going on there. And we had so many of the, if I can call it, the backbone of the Mile Zero Park Society and the Historical Society. The place is quite a dynamic place, and it's very good to see that. As well as the number of tourists who, I'm told, who are accessing the newly minted Alaska Highway House display. If you haven't seen it, you don't see it. It's nicely displayed at the Bay Tree Hall. So a lot of good things happening there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further for anyone? Thank you, Council. Item 5 is the adoption of the minutes. 5.1, we have the minutes of our public consultation for July 18th, 2022 for adoption. Move, Councillor Earl, second Councillor Wilbur. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried, thank you. And 5.2, we have the minutes of the public hearing for July 18th, 2022 for adoption. Moved by Councillor Wilbur, so thank you. Councillor Kemp, second, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed?
If I may comment. The reason
Go ahead.
I have problems voting on these things because I was out fishing in the Kitimat River, right?
Yeah.
So how can I support minutes when I wasn't even there? So that's why I'm hesitant. Given you don't give us the opportunity of abstaining, so.
But if they're part of the agenda where you have the opportunity to review them, both the open and closed, then
Can't attest to the accuracy. 'cause I
accuracy of
wasn't
them,
there.
yeah.
But you would not be opposed either.
No.
Thank you.
Can't attest to the whole
Yeah.
point of minutes is you're attesting to the accuracy
approving of the-
those minutes. So how can someone not present? I've heard other councillors even say that same thing to me.
Yeah. Brenda?
The only thing I can say that is if you do abstain, then you would be marked as
Considered
in
to be in
favor, so.
favor.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not saying I'm not doing anything. That's why I'm not voting. You were looking for everyone to have passed a vote, and I just realised I wasn't. I was trying to. I think I was travelling to fishing actually on that day.
Item 5.3 is the minutes of a regular meeting of City Council for July 18th, 2022 for adoption. Move Councillor Wilbur, second Councillor Kemp. All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry. And it's carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising out of the minutes for anyone? 6.1, we have a memo from Colin Day in regards to the NCLGA AGM and conference revised logo that we had provided input into. So if I can have a motion to approve that, because we did do a bit of a response, Brenda?
Yes, the first motion in the recommendation is to deal with the referred motion of the original logo.
Okay, thank you. So move Councillor Earl, thank you. Second Councillor Kemp, thank you. Any discussion? Yes, please.
I'll move recommendation number 1, that the memo from Councillor Wilbur, RE, logo for 2023 NCLGA AGM and convention be received. Further, that council approve the logo as presented for use on all the 2023 NCLGA AGM and convention materials.
Thank you, and that was seconded by Councillor Kemp. Any discussion? Councillor Earl, did you have a comment on it? No? Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Brenda?
So this is the motion on the original motion that was presented, and so the recommendation was to defeat that because
Oh,
the
right,
logo
because
was
we wanted
actually
to
amended?
amend it to provide that new stuff on
Sorry
it.
for the
Thank you,
confusion.
Brenda. Can we just reset the voting then? Or have we done that? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's defeated. And the second recommendation with the revised direction we provided. Councillor Earl?
I'll move recommendation number 2, that the revised logo attached to the email dated July 26, 2022 and attached to this memo be approved to be used for all purposes required during 2023 NCLGA AGM and conference held in Dawson Creek, May 9th to 12th, 2023.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Earl? Councillor Dober? Discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. Correspondence, item 7.1, we have a letter from Rachel Voles Robertson, Office Manager of Lakota, regarding the manure disposal proposal. Blair, can you give us a little bit of, or can someone give us a little bit of an update on this for council before we move the motion? Kevin? Thank you.
Yeah, through your worship. So we have been approached by the Stables and Arena Association as they are looking for somewhere that they can dispose of, obviously, their manure and straw and wood. I think there's some wood shavings that are mixed in with that as well. So we've had a few discussions. There may be an opportunity to utilize this material on the South Dawson Reservoir site because we do have some soil conditioning that we need to do out there. But I would say at this early stage, we may want to just, council may want to hold off, approving yay or nay on this until we get a little bit more information. I've had some initial conversations with a few different folks to try and understand whether this is a good idea, a bad idea, and I think there is some potential here, but we also have to be cognizant of we don't want to introduce more weeds and those types of things that may come along with this material. And so I want to be very cautious of that. So I think staff has a little bit more work to do. And maybe I would suggest that we do that if if this is something that we want to explore, and we can bring something back with a little more details to council.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I just would add that I know at our discussions at the Peace River Regional District table with the vermiculture, the potential to implement that organic composting out at the Besborough landfill site. And one of the issues they ran into with the potential of doing that was a lack of supply of some more organics into it because they were just relying on a lot of yard waste. And so they had mentioned specifically, right, that they just didn't have access to significant volumes of some additional organics. And so I'm not sure that this might not be a potential for us at the Peace River Regional District through that solid waste management plan. And so I would agree with you. I think that there's opportunity here for us to potentially do a couple things with it. So.
Yeah, and maybe a conversation with the RD on this as well.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Well, I think this letter is pretty well researched, and notwithstanding what's been shared by yourself, Mayor, and Kevin, I don't see anything wrong with the request because the request says, can we generate a contract of usage that suits both the City of Dawson Creek and the Dawson Creek DSSAA, whatever it is, if you require more information on manure composting, et cetera, So rather than this being brought back to council, what's wrong in saying, give it to administration to see if we can develop a contract of usage that suits both parties? And we could well deflect it to the regional district in part as well.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than it being brought back.
Yeah, I think honestly, to me, the aspect for us to be able to either deal with it through with these guys at the Lakota Agriplex or through the regional district through our solid waste management plan and direct administration to provide that direction to them to be able to deal with it. Yeah. Kevin?
Yes, so through your worship, we can certainly have those discussions. If council wants to put a motion forward that if we can come to an agreement that works for both parties, we can move forward, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
That's my intent. We'll put that as the motion. I'll put that as the motion.
Okay.
If it suits both sides, and be open to including the regional district. Yeah.
Thank you. So is there clarity on terms of folks for what the motion is, that we're going to direct it to administration and provide an option for the disposal of the manure from the Agriplex, working with Lakota Agriplex and the RD. Blair?
Okay. Your Worship, with that, that's fine. There is a possibility that an agreement may not be reached.
Yeah.
And we would,
and then
you would like to be informed at that point, just in case we couldn't find a way. Weeds are always an issue on the land out there. If there's another option with the RD, that may be, a possibility. So.
Awesome. So if there isn't, then you guys would bring that back to us, right, if you can. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Wilbur. In discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. 7 point. Do you want to wait? 7.2, we have an email from Tyler Bannock, Manager of Public Relations Affairs for Alberta, BC, and Northwest Territory Corporate Services, from CN regarding a request for the city to share rail safety messaging through the Dawson Creek website, social media, and other communication platforms. Because we don't have a representative of CN here, we wouldn't do a proclamation as such because they don't have a local representative. So they're asking us to leverage this messaging through our website and social media. Council? Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I move that we operate this request through our administration.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Wilbur, thank you. Discussion? Anything, any issue from administration, Blair, on this, or Brenda?
None, Your Worship.
Thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. Reports, 8.1, we have report number 22090 from the Development Services Manager regarding a development variance permit 2206 at 921 89th Avenue regarding the driveway width. And Kevin, could you give us an overview of this prior to council moving a motion?
So through your worship, what we have here is we have an individual who would like to widen their driveway. Our current bylaw allows up to a maximum width of 9 meters for a residential driveway. And the reason for that is, and we changed that a number of years ago, is we were running into issues where folks were making their driveways almost the full width of their properties that really limited our ability to place snow during snow removals, and aesthetically really wasn't what the community was looking for as well. So there was a number of factors. So this individual came in and spoke with us. Staff mentioned that if they wanted to go forward, it was going to be beyond the 9 meters allowable. They would have to go through this process, this variance process to get permission to do so. They agreed to go through the process. We did. They want to take it from 9 meters up to 11.28, so an additional couple of meters. And we sent out notifications, to adjacent properties, and there was no comments received, so there's no opposition to it. And staff visited the site and determined that there is adequate snow storage, and so therefore we're recommending it.
Thank you, Kevin. Council? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-090 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variance permit 22-06, 921 89th Avenue be received. Further, that development variance permit number 22-06 be approved to vary the subdivision and development servicing bylaw number 4353 2017, table E6, by increasing the maximum allowable driveway width from 9 meters to 11.28 meters.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Kempf? Discussion? Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Worship. Just through to staff. Kevin, you also mentioned the aesthetics of it. Like, I'm not a designer, but by any means, but allowing this, does it affect the look of the area having, because I think that's a bit of a concern, having different zoning all over the city, that it becomes to look like not very uniform. Is there issues of that? Like, in this property, is there still green space? Is it still
Yeah. So through your worship, the existing property is 21.7 meters wide, so they're asking to go to 11, so they're essentially looking to do about half of the property for their driveway, half of the frontage. Normally we try and keep it at that about 45% of the lot is what our bylaw allows, but this is looking to go to more like 50%, so there still is obviously some green space, and it's not what we were really trying to get away from in some areas where literally the entire frontage was a driveway. It was all concrete or gravel parking, and there was absolutely no green space whatsoever. And so again, staff feels in this particular case, and that's why you look at it case by case, because it's not always easily painted with the same brush, and that's why you go through the variance process and look at it.
Okay, thank you. And then just one other question on this. So going from 9 to 11, is it currently at 9? They're just extending it, or is it currently at like 4 meters and they're going to extend it? They just want to go over the allowable.
So 3 years, sorry, I'm just going to double check. My understanding is that they are, my understanding is that it is around the 9 meter, but and that
That's
they want
maybe irrelevant anyways.
Yeah, they
I'm
just want to
curious.
go increase it up to the 11.28.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Councillor Parslow?
Well, I'm going to support this motion, but I just want to throw something out to admin. So I understand the need to make sure that we have some place to dump snow, and I understand the issues of aesthetics. And I'm struggling to remember a time when we haven't had, when the recommendation from staff has been to deny a variance. There may be, but it seems to me we have these items brought before us because there's a variance request. And then you go and inspect and you make a recommendation. And I'm just wondering, shouldn't we possibly just throw this out for a future thought, for a future council? Is we empower administration to make decisions about this, providing that there's some caveats around adequate place for snow removal and that it does not negatively impact the aesthetics of the subdivision of the road. It seems to me we have these almost every meeting, and I don't see why we need, as a council, can we not change our procedures to empower staff to use those criteria and make decisions? And when they have to deny a variance, bring that to us. I'm not asking for debate about that, just throwing it out. It seems to me we take up our time with these things. Staff exercises good judgment, has to bring it to us for approval. I'm saying maybe to streamline things a little bit, we consider looking at a change of procedures, but I don't want to get into a debate about that at the moment, just throwing it out.
Blair?
Just not to debate the issue, that would be varying a bylaw.
Yes.
You certainly have the ability to give administration that authority. It hasn't been granted in the past because it is a council bylaw, is how we would operate. So based on which bylaws you would like to give that authority to us under, I mean, that's definitely a council directive. I would be cautious, is how I would suggest. Not that administration can't do the job and do that for you. It may reflect on the elected side saying, hold it, you set the policy, you set the bylaw, you vote those, we administer them. The flexibility we could certainly do, as you're saying, Councillor Parslow, but it would be worthy of I think, a healthy discussion prior to that taking place.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov, you had a question?
No, I've reconsidered my question.
Was it on whether the bylaw should? Thank you. Any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. We dealt with 8.2. 8.3, we have report number 22091 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the actual to budget variance report for period ending June 30th, 2022. Councillor Kempf?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 22-091 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding actual to budget variance report for period ending June 30th, 2022 be received for information.
Thank you. Second? Counselor Wilbur? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. 8.3, we have report number 22094 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the permissive tax exemption policy update. So before we move with this, would it be, because this has been a pretty significant conversation, discussion that Council has had over the last couple of years, and as we're moving into now this period of October where we need to provide direction, would it, if I could ask perhaps Blair and Terry or Michelle Atkinson to give an update on the, no, you're sighing. Just if you guys could provide a little bit of an update for Council in terms of the report and why and what we need to do today for the upcoming timelines for October and moving forward then into 2023. Terry?
Sure, through your worship. So basically this report was just to give an update on where we are on property tax exemption, just because we're so late. October 31st is the deadline for all the applications, so I don't think we have enough time to come up with a new policy that pleases all of council, so I assumed maybe we could revisit it when the new council comes in. I'm thinking that all of the applications that came in last year, they're essentially, they don't have to apply, they're good for 3 years, but council still has to approve all of the applications. So my plan is that I'll bring them back next meeting. So in September, all the applications will come forward, any new ones. I don't think we have any new exemptions. And also, I just wanted to bring to the attention that the parcel tax should never really be exempt. As long as you have the ability to connect to water or sewer, you pay a parcel charge, whether you're connected or not. It's so the community charter for permissive tax exemption only exempts municipal taxes, whereas we're exempting the parcel tax, which I don't think we should be doing. And just so you're aware, there's only 5 properties that have the class 1 for the flat tax. So one of them being a vacant lot. So, and four of them being the $300. So 4 will be $300 and 1 vacant lot will be $100.
Okay.
So I just, it's so close to the deadline that, and I apologize for that I didn't bring something forward.
Thank you. I think honestly the work we did this past year or two on permissive tax really was an education, I think, for lots in terms of us, in terms of that process. It was really healthy to have those organizations come in and give an update to council in terms of those services they're providing and what they're doing within the community. And I think we all found that very worthwhile and helpful. And I think through that we recognize some of the opportunities that were created by the permissive tax policy that we implemented and was looking to have some more discussion and input into it. And so there's no way we're going to get it done in time for October because we need to have that direction for the 2023 tax year for October of this year. So the recommendation being that we will maintain the current structure with the exception of the flat tax that has to be included, and then begin the process for the new council and allow that then for council to be able to have that 2023 year to be able to be ready for October. Councillor Parslow, you got a comment?
Yeah, I mean, this was, sometimes we get something into our heads about something. I thought we had made some changes. Or maybe it was conversations with you, Blair, to be honest about it. But the thresholds of places of worship compared to thresholds for senior housing, I thought we talked about that, and I thought we had made changes, but obviously we didn't.
No.
So maybe I voted against something then. But the notion is that this regime will be in place for 3 years. for the current policy, right?
So those that have applied and have been granted permissive tax exemption are granted it for a 3-year period. Right. The policy that council implemented last year and the changes for this year will be in place for 2023, and then the new council will have the opportunity to review that, because I think that was the discussion was, look, some of the stuff around places of worship and, you know, the housing and seniors and all those things that caps that we placed upon it there was obviously some discussion about that, and so, but there's no way we were going to be able to get that done this year in time for the October deadline to implement. And that's what I think Terry's report is saying.
And I accept that.
Yeah.
But one question, thanks for that as well, was there some resolve that we were going to look at the next review? Was there any resolve of council in that regard, or was it just, because, you know, what the mayor said does refresh my memory about some of the discussion, but I
think that'll be the process that council will take on then, and invite those organizations in now in that January, February, and then to begin that discussion about how and what is that policy amendments or policy changes that council wish to take and implement in 2023 that will be approved by October for then the 2024 year. And invite those organizations and groups in who are applying and haven't now got the grant approved. So, Blair, Sherry?
Your worship, yes, there was discussion from yourselves saying, hey, look, we've come up with this new policy, which is a new policy that we're operating under today. There was some concern raised post that new policy saying, hold it, there might even be a better way, is how I would sum it up.
Okay.
We've looked around. So that is some of the work that is ongoing right now. But we are not in a position to say for 2023, here's what we're doing. We've just brought them on last year. They came, they presented. It will be the same with the thresholds, as you mentioned, Councillor. And then with the new council, as the mayor said, there will be a discussion and a new policy should the new council say, we want to change this and bring it forward, is how we would envision that happening. We have a very, very, how to put that, we have a very rich tax exemption policy. We exempt a lot of things in our city, is how I would put that. So.
Thank you. So the motion is that we would receive the permissive tax exemption report, and that council would approve that flat tax change on all the Class 1 properties. And so if I could have that recommendation, please, if council desires. Councillor Wilbur, moved. Do you want to read that recommendation for us, please, Shaylee?
Thank you. All right, I will move the report number 22-094 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the permissive tax exemption update be received. Further, that council approve that flat tax charge on all Class 1 properties that receive a permissive tax exemption. And further, that the amendment permissive tax exemption policy be approved pending the required 30-day review period.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Kemp. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. Thank you for that, staff. No bylaws. Mayor's business, just a few items I wanted to bring forward. Obviously, the 100th anniversary of the exhibition of Stampede. I was talking to a couple of people over the weekend, and you know, in North America, our society doesn't have that rich and long history of generations and centuries, Asia, Europe, and things. So there's very, very few that you see that have communities or organizations that have had the opportunity to celebrate a 100th anniversary of an event and within a community. And I think how lucky we are that we have this organization that have been able to deliver that over 100 years in our community, and it's hard to believe that that's the case.
I know Blair and I were just kids when we went the first time on that first fair. And so it's really, really amazing to me that the Exhibition Association, and so I want to extend our sincere appreciation and congratulations to the entire executive, and to all the volunteers, all the sponsors, all the people who support the fair, all the fans, the residents who took in the fair. It was an incredible success. It had to have been because the stands were full, and every day that we were down there, the midway, the exhibits, the light horse, the cattle, the heavy horse, on and on and on. It was just a really amazing week of events, and our congratulations and thanks go to everybody who were involved and participated and supported it. And I'm sure that the team, the executive, will be in to give us an overview of it this fall, and we'll be able to hopefully extend, again, our thanks to them. And the parade, as a part of that, was 155 entries. And that was crazy to me. There was an hour and 15 minutes that parade lasted, I understand. And when we turned around the corner on 10th Street, heading down off 103rd down 10th Street, my son-in-law was driving our pickup pulling our float, and he said they were still coming out of the co-op. He could still see them coming out of the co-op. So it's pretty amazing. So our thanks to the Rotary and, again, all the folks who spend the time volunteering and putting that on, and just how cool it is for the community to have those types of events. It's pretty special to me, and I just love the fact that people go to all the work of building floats and for the enjoyment of everybody. And the streets were full of people, full of people. And it was pretty incredible. So thank you to everybody for that as well. I had the opportunity on Saturday morning at the Co-op Pancake Breakfast on behalf of the South Peace Health Services Society and the Bolter Ice House project that we've been working on. And Canadian Natural Resources Limited donated $50,000 to the society. So how crazy to be able to have that kind of support from our local industry and business folks to help build that patient accommodation house and move it forward and help move it forward to completion. About 3 weeks ago, I was invited by Chief Roland Wilson of the West Moberly First Nations to go out to the Caribou Recovery Maternal Penning project. And so these guys have got maternal penning in partnership with, I think, the province and the Westmo and Soto, this caribou maternal penning. They had 19 cows that they were captured this spring in February, March, and they bring them into the penning program where they feed them and ensure that they help those calves have a healthy start to life and are protected from the predator, particularly the wolves and the wolverines and the bears. And so they had, I think, of 19 cows, 18 successfully calved, and one of the cows was lost during the delivery of her baby. And they've been able to not only have those 18 survive and are doing amazingly well. The one baby that's an orphan has been brought along by the staff there without a mom, and it's that balance between how do you make sure they're healthy and survive and thrive without a mom, but also not become so accustomed to human contact that now they're vulnerable in that regard. And so calf number 838 is doing amazingly well, and one thing I learned at the when I was there visiting is that these calves get their exercise, they get their start to life from following mom around with the feeding and the nursing and all that. Well, this little guy's got no mom to follow around, so they were really worried about was he just going to lay there and not get the exercise. So not only is the guy that's nursing him, he's doing it while he's walking him around through the bush and stuff just to make sure that this little guy gets. It's been incredibly interesting and really successful. I think the herd's gone from 38 3 or 4 years ago up to about 130 right now. Calves they're most vulnerable in the first 6 or 8 weeks. And so now they'll be in the process where they'll be released back into the wild, and away they go. And survival rate is exponentially increased by that. Darcy?
One quick question on that. It sounds like a pretty
thing. Do they allow like people to go there?
No, they've been trying to keep it pretty quiet because they don't want to have that influence on the caribou in terms of having that. But yeah, I just by accident I was talking to Roland and he invited me out, and so it was very, very cool. Yeah. Last weekend, I got invited on Sunday night to attend the revalidation dinner by the Tumbler Ridge Global Geopark Society, and they go through their revalidation. They have the folks from UNESCO come in, I think every 3 or 4 years, and revisit the park and the plans and all of the activities and stuff. And they had a dinner for some of the visiting folks that were there, and so I was invited and attended, and our congratulations go to the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Geopark Society and all the work they've done and how amazing it is. And I said a few words that night that you can't go on social media in our community without it being peppered with people who are going out to Tumbler Ridge, visiting out there and walking the trails and all that's been built out there for the enjoyment of the region. And certainly for us building a community when we're attracting doctors and professionals and all that, that's one amenity that really is a huge benefit to all of us in the region. And so our thanks and our congratulations go to the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Geopark Society, and I thank them for the invitation. We have a letter. So anybody have any questions or any comments of that? So 10.2, we have a memo from Colin regarding the letter of support we required for the liquor license for the fall fair for the Exhibition Association. So I need a motion to approve that. Councillor Parslow.
I move that the letter from Tony Patterson, President Dawson Creek Exhibition, July the 4th, 2022, presented to Council via email poll and attached to this memo be received. Further, that Council's approval of the request for a letter of support regarding liquor licensing for various locations at the 100th anniversary of the Dawson Creek Exhibition and Stampede on August the 9th to 15th be ratified.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Kemp, thank you. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to ask that if we could recess to go into closed, and the closed agenda items 4.1 and 5.1 deal with section 90 minutes. Agenda items 2.1, 7.1, and 8.1 deal with under section 91K, negotiations and or discussions respecting a proposed provision of municipal services. Agenda item 7.2 under section 91E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. And agenda items 8.2 and 8.3 under section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited as for disclosure. So if I can have a motion, please. Councillor Wilbur, second. Councillor Kemp, thank you. All those, sorry.
Oh, gee.
All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. So we'll take a 5-minute recess, please, and then we'll be back to go into closed. Back to order in our regular meeting of council, and we finished off with item 10. Item 11 is our Chief Administrative Officer's operational update. Blair?
Thank you, Your Worship. Really just wanted to touch on our capital works program this year. Things are moving ahead very well for us, whether it be the road work that you see, whether it be the 94th, 96th, or Camarlo, the subdivision. All of our paving projects are going well, on time. We have met with the contractors. They have assured us they will meet the timeframes that these contracts are put together in. I have no concerns after that discussion. Also, most other projects are ongoing. The arena project for the HVAC, I think we reported earlier that we were having delivery problems with some of the equipment that was necessary. We have worked around that. We will be opening the arena on time this year prior to the end of October, as was originally slated because of the installation of this equipment. It will come at a later date. We will fit it in. The only challenge we have had to date is the one with the tennis courts. We're working with contractors right now. We received a significant grant for that. We are working to get contractors to come forward to develop that site. But other than that, really just a quick good news update. We take on a lot of capital projects for a city our size, in tens of millions of dollars, which for us is very significant of our community our size. And the crew and the staff have done an amazing job to date. So any questions, I will do my best to answer those. But really, in a nutshell, that's my update for today, Your Worship.
Thank you, Blair. Councillor Dober?
Thanks, Worship. Thanks, Blair, for the update. You answered one of mine. The other one, have you got an update on the bridge on 8th Street? It looks like it's moving along pretty quick, but are they still on pace, on schedule?
Go ahead, Kevin, if you'd like.
So through your worship, what we know is obviously they're closing today for 5 days. They have to do the final concrete pour to put the two bridges, the two halves essentially together. They can't have any traffic over it for 5 days until it cures. I see they're doing they poured the end slab approaches. They're still doing some drainage. Then they'll have to do some paving approaches and stuff. But all indications that I've had from Brocore is that by this fall, that it will be open. The original plan was to be finished next summer, but they said this spring that they would be done this fall sometime.
Yeah, it seems to be moving along.
And when I say done, substantially complete, I'm sure there will be some things that remain to be finalized, but traffic will have full movement there, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Javetkov?
Noxious weeds. The reason I'm bringing it up because of the idea of putting the manure from Lakota out on that quarter. Is there any concern with noxious weeds? I noticed the quarter on the south side of Dawson there, from 116th out to the Dangerous Goods, from 17th to 13th, is just covered with Canada thistle. Is anybody worried about that anymore, or is it dropped off the radar?
Sure. So, through your worship, I would say it's probably less of a concern as it used to be. I'm not, just because of the prevalence of it. It used to be Canada thistle was a big deal. I don't think it is as much anymore. There's just so much, and then you introduce all the other things that have come with it. We've been dealing through bylaw recently about complaints about noxious weeds on private properties, and so we've been dealing with them. We reach out to the owners. I noticed just by UFA there over the weekend, I think they were out mowing that property because it was one of those properties that had significant amounts of weeds. We work with the regional district as well because they deal with the agricultural lands. But they don't receive the same level of attention as they probably once did, just by nature of how much there is out there.
Yeah, well, I notice it everywhere too, so that's why I was wondering. I mean, if it's not an issue anymore, I'll stop noticing. It used to be. It used to be a big deal.
I will jump in. Just one of the parts of your question was the issue of manure and moving it out to our site where we developed the new reservoir. That is a concern. I mean, obviously, I think we're all aware manure full of weeds is a concern. So that's part of the discussion that Kevin said we would be having. You can't just arbitrarily go start dumping this out there. We are in a position right now where we have taken on more of a land steward role on that land we own where the new reservoir is. It was contaminated or quite contaminated with weeds and noxious weeds. We've had some neighbors out there speak with us. We're working together to get that site cleaned up, so we are a good neighbor within the agricultural land.
So another question. It was sort of alarming that we had 2 breaks on our water main. Do we have only the one water main that provides water to the whole city? And then when we have a break, we have to rely on the water that we've got stored on the hill?
So through your worship, so we have 2 lines coming to town from the water treatment plant. We have the one that cuts across through BC Hydro area, golf course, and up to the Alaska Highway Booster. So that's one. That's where we had the breaks. Second line comes in on 102nd Avenue into town. So when we had the breaks, the first break, obviously we were concerned about just how much time we'd have to fix that. We had to manipulate the system a little bit, change some valving, change some pumps, but we were able to still move water through the community, I would say relatively well, albeit if we were to have a large fire, it might put us in a bit of a tight spot. And so we know we can do that, so that's good. The second part of that question was the that line. So that line that did have the couple breaks is one of the original lines put in by the U.S. Army back when that was put in. So it's old. It's aside from the breaks that we had when we were replacing it, the pipe seems to be in good condition. But we're obviously doing a bit more investigating into why that occurred. It does seem rather odd. And, you know, saying all that, the reality is, you know, it's 70 plus years old. That concrete pipe is, the lifespan is honestly probably, you know, it's in that 70, 75 year range. So we should start turning our minds to replacing that line.
So there was one photo there, it showed, I think, metal pipe, and it looked like it was pitted from the outside, like with rock, breaks from rocks or something. Was that part of that, or was that a different photo?
It's not metal, it's concrete pipe. And then what we did find on the one is during the backfill of the pipe at some point, you know, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, whenever it was, there was a rock that was on the pipe. And we believe that through some ground movement, that put pressure on the pipe and cracked it. And then the second one, we have no idea
alarming
why.
That there would be two like that, and
Yeah.
and you start wondering, was it wood pipe that the Army put in? Anyways, that's all the questions I had. Thanks.
You know, I think it's a great point, really, in terms of that all of the investment that's been made, now we're in great shape with storage, we're in the treatment plant, and then you start to think about that distribution of supply into the community, and I think that'll be a really good discussion for council and that capital planning process of the utility to make sure that, you know, that 80 years old, right? The pipe that's there is, if it was put in there by the Army in the 40s. So, anyway, it was, appreciate that staff were able to manipulate and maneuver for our community to be able to keep us in water, but now it's a conversation. It'll be a big project, but how do we make sure we have distribution into the community with that supply and treatment capacity? Councillor Dober, did you have a question?
I don't
know. Okay, sorry, Councillor Parslow.
Yes, my colleague, Councillor Javatkov, raised an issue that's being a rural resident living on the borders here, noxious weeds are everywhere. I talked to my regional director, fine guy, Leonard Hebert, and I get the impression that there's, as Kevin suggested, it doesn't seem to be such a high priority as it was at the regional district level. But I want to get to my question. Is there an education piece here? I mean, my first degree is in botany, for Pete's sake, and I've gone on to many sites trying to determine whether this plant that I haven't seen before, is it a noxious weed? And I'm just wondering if there's an education piece that for the city here to help citizens mitigate the encroachment of noxious weeds into the community. Thistles, I readily can identify Canada thistles, but there's some other plants that I hear from people, oh, that's bad for cows. You got to get rid of that. And then other people say, oh, no, that's not true. And I can't find anything definitive from within the province of British Columbia, okay, about this issue. And I'm just wondering if there can be a future educational piece on this matter.
That's a website.
Through you, Your Worship, The Peace River Regional District has a very sound educational portion for noxious weeds. So I would encourage anybody, I believe it's on their website as well. So noxious weeds, I would agree, seem to have lost some of their luster in the last number of years, but they are every bit as concerning as they've ever been. If you want to take productivity on the land base down, just infest them with noxious weeds and we'll be struggling with that. So they are important to be dealt with, and the more people understand it, the better off we'll all be. But for the educational purposes, maybe it is something we can follow through with the RD on and see if we can't tie it in with our website and social media as well. So when people look to our site, it's there.
They do have a vibrant invasive plants structure and process, and certainly identify Destroy the Daisy campaign, that and scentless chamomile, which is a horrible plant. And I learned the only way you get rid of it is bag it and burn it. You can't cut it, you can't spray it. And so those are all things that would be really worthwhile for us probably to do at some point, is to have the RD come in and give us an update on what they're doing with their invasive plant program.
We also have a contractor we contract to look after invasive species as well within the city.
So it might be, thinking about that in terms of Councillor Parslow's comment there about an education program for the residents, right? To be able to say, here's what we should be paying attention to on some of these plants, because they are horrible. Charlie, yeah, go ahead.
Supplementary to this, I know when I speak to the mayor, he's a darkland lover, as am I. And just an example, I mean, these are conversations, but just had one about the last couple of weeks. 2 people have incurred some significant vet bills for their dogs because they had got into a grass. I think the grass foxtail. And I knew nothing about that, right? And so every time I see foxtail grass now, I pull it up. But again, that's the education piece. And I just heard it from my daughter's friends who have dogs who had some problem because of that. And they just described it as significant vet. A lot of people keep dogs, and that was a revelation. Obviously, our illustrious finance officer knew all about it. I didn't.
My last dog was a education on foxtail at $1,500. Vet bill, right? So,
wow.
Yeah.
Because there's another example, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Blair. Anything new on diary? Nothing. Consent calendar. We've got a couple of items to be received, and we're going to add one item to be released. Brenda? That you had given to me. We need to, so we should approve the consent calendar?
Yes, through your worship, that is in the in-camera meeting that needs to be released, so the consent calendar remains the same.
Thank you. The consent calendar, anything anybody wants to lift from consent? I have a motion to approve receipt of the consent calendar. Councillor Wilbur, second. Councillor Kemp, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried, thank you. Nothing new on strategic priorities. Media question. Thank you. So anything further for administration, Brenda, that I missed? Blair, anything else? So we'll take a few minutes to go back into our close and complete it off. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carl.